And you know, the interesting thing about New Jersey is that it has a very interesting mix of industrial, agriculture, and recreational areas. But I think the big picture here is the waterways. So back in 1524, the French hired Giovanni Verrazzano to explore the New Worlds. Of course, now we have the Verrazzano-Narrows Bridge up in New York. Then in 1618, the Dutch colonists formed a trading post at Jersey City. I think the waterways helped make New Jersey what it is today. The state is approximately 146 nautical miles long from north to south. It's got 23 nautical miles of the state boundaries are on the Hudson River. 30 miles are Newark Bay. Then the Delaware Bay runs along the southwest border, approximately 54 nautical miles. And then, of course, on the west side, we have Delaware River, which runs all the way up. So basically, the state could be considered a peninsula. But I think the more important part is the Atlantic Ocean side. It's 107 nautical miles of shoreline. And that's what we're going to concentrate on here on At the Helm. The Jersey coast is basically one big beach. It's divided into three areas: the shore, Greater Atlantic City, and Southern Shore. The shore region alone has over 36 beaches and numerous amusement parks all along. There are plenty of things to do and see on the Jersey Shore, from just relaxing in the sun, walking on one of the many boardwalks, kite flying, parasailing, the boardwalks offer a variety of entertainment, miniature golf, and arcades. Even the birds like the view. The Jersey coast is actually part of the Intercoastal Waterway also, which leads from New York Harbor down to Delaware Bay, and then the Intercoastal would go up Delaware Bay down Chesapeake Bay. But on the Jersey part, there are numerous marinas all along the Intercoastal. The only problem is it kind of snakes around, and there are some areas that are rather shallow and a lot of low clearance bridges. So when you're cruising Jersey, if the weather is good, it's probably advisable to take the outer run, which is what we did. We ran the ocean in 3 to 4 foot rollers and was not a problem at all. And it's a lot faster than trying to run the Intercoastal. You do miss some of the local flavor though if you don't duck into some of the harbors. Absecon Inlet is next, where Atlantic City is. That inlet is usually kept open very nicely. It can get a little rough. The day we were there, we had about a 4 or 5 foot chop coming at us, and I normally maneuver at about 1,500 RPMs. I needed to get over 2,000 RPMs just to make headway to get into that harbor. But once you get past the break wall, it opens up nicely. Now, if you keep going west, you'll go toward the Intercoastal. We normally take a left, or to our port side, and head in toward Trump Castle and the marinas in that area. And be careful when you get into that area. The red buoy, pay attention to it. It looks like you're almost going on shore. You can just about reach out and shake hands with the fishermen on the side, but that's where the deep water is. If you stay to the starboard side, there is a shoal area there. And once you get past that, though, the harbor opens up nicely and you'll have no problem maneuvering. And then headed back out. The inlet was still sort of choppy, but I think things were only going to get worse. Not all the inlets along the New Jersey coast are navigable. Of the 10 basic inlets, I would say 5 are pretty good. Shark River, Manasquan, Upsegan, Great Egg, and Cape May. On the charts you'll notice that many of the inlets are not marked. That's because of the constant shifting of the shoal areas. When you approach the inlet, you'll see that the above-mentioned inlets are pretty well marked. However, after a heavy storm, it's advisable to contact the marina or Coast Guard to see if the inlet was affected. You can also check the Notice to Mariners on the web for any updates. We decided to stay at the Brielle Yacht Club on the Manasquan River in the town of Brielle. The current's very swift in this area, so don't hesitate to give it a little extra throttle. I didn't and came close to hitting another boat, and would have had I not throttled up fast. As we entered the inlet, we saw a doggy beach. As far as I know, it's the only beach on the shore that's just for dogs.
This is a test of your driving skills.
Yeah, it is. Well, look at it, I made it.
Yeah.
From the fuel docks at the Brielle Yacht Club, you can see the bridge that leads to the Intercoastal. Well, the Jersey coast lends itself to a lot of great scuba diving. People come from all over to dive the Jersey coast. Back on July 2nd, 1918, 5 ships were sunk by the German U-boat 151. To date, only 3 of those vessels have been found, and only 2 have been identified. So there's still a lot of great diving to do out there.
Hey, John. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Thanks for taking some time to talk with us at the Helm.
Okay.
And about diving New Jersey.
All right. Well, thank you.
What do you like about New Jersey?
New Jersey's where I broke into my diving experiences. The one reason why I like to dive there so much, and most people like to dive there, is because of the shipwreck diving. And shipwrecks are their own ecosystem. That's where you'll find the small fish, the larger fish, and everything around it. In the bare sand, you won't find that much. But the history of the wrecks are what I'm interested in. How they got there, what the names of the wrecks are, and actually do an investigation on those wrecks to find out the names of the wrecks and that kind of thing. The wrecks come from either history, from during the colonial times, or they'll come from, a lot of them from World War I and World War II. The Germans actually came over here and sank over 150 ships along our own coast.
Oh, I didn't know that. That close to us?
Yes, very, very close.
Wow.
Off Barnegat Light, the Gulf trade is not even 12 miles offshore, and you can dive on her, and that was a tanker that was sunk during World War II.
Well, that's another thing I was wondering about. How far out in the ocean do you need to go to dive these wrecks?
You can go right offshore. The further you go out, the better the conditions are going to be for visibility and that kind of thing.
Well, and then how deep are most of these wrecks?
The average wreck diving for the sport diver is around 80-90 feet for the best visibility and best conditions. A little deeper you go, a little better the conditions will be. You do need special training for that. You need advanced, you need wreck diving skills, and with the education and the equipment nowadays, it's much easier than it used to be, and it is a lot of fun.
Do you have any special equipment that you need to bring with you, or
mostly
spear guns or anything?
We do spearfishing. Spearfishing is very good off the New Jersey coast. You have the same guidelines as you have with saltwater fishing. Lobstering, there's also guidelines for lobstering, which you're allowed to take lobsters as long as they're
go get
male.
your own dinner.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Do you get the big ones?
Oh yes. In 28 years, I've never bought a lobster, and I've eaten more than most people.
So they're around these wrecks.
Yes. Yes, they hide in the wrecks. You look for antennas sticking out, and you just go back and grab them and pull them out.
Well, Sherry, let's hit the Sandbar restaurant for dinner.
Okay.
You know, it's better to hit the Sandbar restaurant than the Sandbar in the middle of the channel.
Oh, you know that from experience.
Unfortunately, I do.
I know.
Wow, what a beautiful view.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
This is great.
Oh, nice. Thank you.
How did you guys get such a great view?
Beautiful location right here in Erie on the Manasquan River. Nice spot.
Beautiful.
It sure is. How'd you come up with the name Sandbar for the restaurant?
There's always those common names: Captain's Inn, Hook, something. Sandbar kind of boat. You take your shoes off. It's funny to see the couples that come down for the weekend.
The restaurant had a very friendly staff and a fantastic view. We dined on an appetizer of lamb chops and shrimp. And for the main course, we had lobster and stuffed flounder. After that big meal, we needed to do a little walking. As Sherry went back and did some stock market research, I walked along the water's edge.